Hi guys, in this video we're going to have a look at how we draw bar charts. So a couple of things to talk about before we get started. The first is in the exam sometimes they ask you to spot mistakes within a bar chart they might already have for you, and it's usually the same sort of things which we'll talk about as we go through actually drawing this one here. So as I'm going through, I'll talk about what mistakes to look out for, but also mistakes that you want to avoid making when actually drawing your own bar chart. So let's get cracking. The first thing you do is draw a set of axes. These might be given to you in the exam. If not, obviously just draw your X and your Y axes. Now the frequency, or how many you have to do, will always go on the Y-axis, and whatever you're looking at, in this case it's shoe size, will always go down the bottom. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is label your axes, and you will lose marks if you don't, and if it's not on a bar chart, that is a mistake. Okay, so shoe size down there and frequency on the Y-axis. Okay, so that's the first mistake that could be made, labeling your axes. The second one is the Y-axis and the actual numbers that are used. So here we have the frequency is 47983. So I'm just going to go up in ones because I have enough space. But if you don't have enough space, you might want to go every square is worth 2. I would avoid odd numbers because it does make it a tad tricky. Even numbers are better, so I would start off with obviously going up with ones, which is nice and easy. 2, again, even, and then 4. 5 isn't too bad. It depends on what your data is, but in this case I'm just going to go up in ones. So I start off with 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And again, that is a mistake that sometimes they make. Sometimes they might repeat a number, sometimes it won't go up evenly, but whatever it is, it must go up. Each square must be worth the same, so definitely check the Y-axis in case they've made any mistakes there. The next thing is obviously the shoe size. So I'm going to come along here and say, right, this is going to be shoe size 3, and then we've got shoe size 4, shoe size 5, 6 and 7, and you'll notice I have deliberately left a gap in between each one, and this is another mistake that could be made. There needs to be equal gaps between each of the bars, and each bar must be the same width. So if they haven't done that, that is another mistake to pick up on. Okay, so let's start drawing the bar chart. So shoe size 3, it goes up to 4. Like so. Okay, and again, check on your bar chart if you try to spot mistakes that each bar does go up to the right amount. So shoe size 4 is 7. Let's quickly draw that one, like so. Okay, and again, space, these spaces are the same and the bars are the same width as well. Shoe size 5 is 9. Again, same width, just one square with a square in between. Doesn't have to always be one square, it can be 2 squares as long as it is the same across the whole diagram. Shoe size 6 is 8. And the last one, shoe size 7, is 3. Okay, so couple of things then, just do a recap. Mistakes that are commonly made: not labeling the axes. Numbers going up the Y-axis are not even and consistent, so you know each square is worth 1 or each square is worth 2 or so on and so forth. Sometimes they repeat numbers, so definitely look out for that. The bars, make sure that they are the right height. So shoe size 3 is 4, yes, 7, yes, 9, yes, 8, yes, and 3. And the last one tends not to be too much of an issue with spotting a mistake, but you should always do it, is a title. In this case it's shoe size of 7B1. So they haven't got a title. That also could potentially be a mistake, but I'll definitely check those other ones first, and then you leave that one till last. Okay, so that is how you draw a bar chart. So let's have a look at something slightly different, which is this one here. Okay, so a survey was taken to find out people's favourite pet. The results are below. So again, I've just drawn my axes here. I'm going to label these axes straight away. So I'm going to have pet down the bottom and frequency down the side already. And I'm going to put my pets in first. So I'm going to put D for dog. They're all different letters. That's fine. Yep, D for dog. You can write the whole thing if you want going down, but you do run into a bit of space. Sorry, a spacing issue. And I'm going to leave a square gap, and each bar will be one square again, just to avoid making anything too tricky. So I've got dog, cat, I've got horse, I've got rabbit, fish, and O for other. Okay, so there's my pets and the frequency. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. These numbers are really high. Now I don't want to start from 0 and have to go all the way up to the highest number, which is 125. So what you can do, and you might have seen this before, is draw this little zigzaggy line like that. Now all that means is that there are missing numbers. Okay, so if I do that, I can now start wherever I want. So the lowest one I have here is 85, and that is 125, that's 110. So looking at that, I'm going to have each square worth 5, because these are quite big numbers. Now because I've drawn this little squiggly line, that means I'm missing the numbers from 0 all the way. I'm going to start at 80. Okay, so if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Just draw a little squiggle, and that just means that you're going to miss out those numbers, but they are technically still there. And like I said, I'm going to go up in 5s, just because these numbers are quite big. So 95, 100, 105. So you don't have to go up in 5s. It's purely whatever the data lends itself to do. You might be able to do 2s. It might even be 10s. You know, it's entirely question dependent. Okay, there we go. So there's my axis up or there for the y-axis. So let's start plotting. So dog is 125. So again, keep your gaps the same and keep your bars the same width. Again, I've gone for 1 square for each one just to make things simple. Okay, so dog's 105, cat's 110. Like so. Horse is 85, that's only a small one there. And then rabbit is 109. So this is where it gets a little bit trickier because I've chosen 5 to go up here. So what I need to do is go, right, there's 110. And imagine this square is split up into 5s. So I'm just going to come ever so slightly below it, the 110 line there. And that's going to be my 109. Okay, that is the only downside of choosing a scale that potentially has quite big gaps. Sometimes it's nicer when you use proper graph paper, because obviously you've got the little squares there, which make that a little bit easier. It's just something to bear in mind. So fish is 117. So 120 is there, 115 is there, 117 would be just a little bit over halfway. Again, you shouldn't do it freehand. I just did that to show the point. I'll go over it with a ruler just to make it nice and neat. And the last one is 96, so I'll go to 95, which is there, and just go a smidgy bit over, like so. Okay, so again, I've labelled my axes. My y-axis is going up by the same amount. I've labelled all of my different pets down here. I've got the same gap in between each of my bars, and my bar gap is the same. The only thing I haven't got is my title. which is so a survey was taken to find out people's favourite pet. So I'm going to say something like results showing, I don't know, favourite pet. Okay, but as long as your title says what's going on in the bar chart, it's absolutely fine. So results showing favourite pet, something like that. Okay, there's just one last thing to talk about, and it's this. Now, bar charts, you're always led to believe to have gaps. However, this is a bar chart that has no gaps, and this is why. There are two different types of data. We have discrete data and continuous data. The difference between the two is discrete data, it can be counted, and there's a finite number of aspects or things it can be. So for example, we have shoe size. There's only certain shoe sizes and it's limited. Days of the week, there's only 7 days of the week, so it can be counted, and there's only 7 of them, so it's finite. Pets and colours, all of these can be counted. Continuous data is where it can be measured, and there's an infinite amount of choices available. So temperature, height is a great one. You've got meters, you've got centimeters, you've got millimeters, nanometers, and so on and so forth. So you can keep measuring, and it's continuous. And weight is the same: kilograms, grams, milligrams, and all stuff like that. Okay, so that is crucial, because discrete data is when you draw yourselves a bar chart with some nice gaps in between, like we did here with pets. But if you have continuous data, you have to draw the bars together. Now, when you do that, it's technically not a bar chart anymore. It's called a histogram. Okay, but it's just to reiterate the point there, the difference between the two. If you see a bar chart like that without any gaps, it's actually a histogram. Okay, discrete data is how we and discrete data is what we use when we draw bar charts. So it's a little bit of a thing there at the end, just in case there was any confusion. So it's just a little example I did there. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that helps you with drawing bar charts and spotting any mistakes that may have occurred on other people's or in the exam questions, and hopefully you won't repeat any yourselves. Thanks for watching.